did it go today? Did Kat like your pitch?
It wasn't actually with Kat. Thank you. She sent the toddler that works for her, Melissa. Remember her?
Oh, no, not the enfant terrible.
Where'd you land? Any exciting ideas?
No. She wants me to write a romance novel.
Oh, my God. I love this idea. You have to go on 50 Shades, like violent and tormented and...
I prefer straight-up Victorian erotica.
Oh.
What, like Hamilton porn?
Absolutely. It's salacious. With the corsets and the wigs and the heaving bosoms.
No, I'm not gonna waste my time pandering to horny middle-aged women. No offense.
Well, I have to go. I'm meeting everyone at 1600 because I need camping gear. Affordable camping gear. We're not 19th century fur trappers. I need a tent. I'm going. I love you. Bye.
Bye. Now, you. I thought that your goddess ceremony column came out really great.
It was superficial horseshit, but Mitchell seemed happy, so win.
There has got to be a way to give Mitchell his usual sexy sex fun and still do it Barbara style. What about a night on the town piece? You're the one that said it's been ages since you got some full body lovin'. That's like 2 birds, 1 bar.
For me, a night on the town includes me lying on a couch watching Ben Affleck in the town.
Oh, come on. You can't just live in what is. You have to live in what if. There's got to be some place you like to go.
There is this sporty establishment that I enjoy perusing.
Okay, great. There you go. A lady out on the prowl.
Want to be my wing woman?
To a sporty bar. No. Hard pass.
I want she to join me, lassie.
Is that Irish?
In your
Stop that.
breeches
Please
and
stop
your
that.
bosom.
Okay, I'll go. Oh, yay! No, I tend to miss.
Hey, but hand.
Okay, sorry.
I've interviewed you before, and I never asked you this, and I've always wanted to know, where did the one name come from? Just Retta. I'm sure you've answered it since the first interview you've done. Yeah.
A minute ago. My full name is Retta Sirleaf, and when I started doing stand-up, I was doing an open mic, and the host said, "Who's next?" I was like, "Me." He was like, "What's your name?" I was like, Retta Sirleaf. He was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, just Retta." And that's what I stuck with.
You stuck with that. And when you get your SAG checks or whatever you get when you sign SAG, does it say Marietta or does it say Retta?
Some say Retta, some say Marietta. Some come to Retta and then my address, some come to Marietta, but it still has my address.
And before you said it there, were people calling you Retta before that?
Yes, but not, I didn't like it. I had hooked up with this guy in college that called me at once, and I was like, "Excuse you?" And my friends thought it was so funny that they kept calling me that.
What's your name?
And now I use it. I've embraced it.
So Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, you've been on the show now for a little while, but this season they really expanded your part and gave you a larger role. We had Lisa here like a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how excited she was that your role got expanded. Are you excited?
Yeah, that's because I get more hours and she gets less. I am excited. It's fun. It's been, we're doing back-to-back seasons, so we get to live out these full stories before they start. I mean, they started airing season 3, but we're going to finish 4 and 5 before season 3 is even done.
How did they tell you that they were going to be expanding your role, that they were going to be adding more hours?
I kind of thought Lisa would say, they'll probably make you a regular. If the show was coming back, she's like, they'll probably make you a regular. And when it was time to come back, we didn't know if it was coming back for sure. So I thought, oh, maybe it's not coming back. And so I did a pilot, I did some movies, and then we heard that it was coming back, that they were doing the back-to-back seasons, and I got a call from my manager saying, Marty said, they'd like you to be a regular. So I found out the normal way you would find out, through my people. Yeah.
Is that the same way it worked with Parks and Rec? Because you became a regular on Parks and Rec, right? After a season or 2?
After, season 3. Jim O'Hare and I became regulars. Same thing. But going into Parks, it was the kind of thing that they were like, chances are that she'll become a regular, because I was a co-star, then a guest star, and then a regular. And they were basing it on how they did, how they added regulars from The Office. They were in it for a while, and then they started giving them storylines, and then made them regulars. So it happened a little faster for us, luckily. But I'm friends with Craig Robinson. He's like, "Oh, they'll do it for you. Trust me, they'll do it. They'll do it." I was like, "You don't know my life. You don't, you don't know what they do over at parks, but it did happen.
Yeah, they made Craig Robinson a regular on The Office. Like what? Like, but his was
Season
like
5.
Season 5. I was gonna say it was later.
That's what I'm saying. Ours was a little bit faster.
Did you rub it in his face a little bit? You were like, you were right, but guess what? I got it earlier.
No.
So you started in stand-up. Do you still do stand-up?
I do. I don't do it as much just because I'm working more and I work in Vancouver. Our show shoots in Vancouver, so I don't get to do it as much, but I still tour the colleges a little bit.
When you sort of don't get to do stand-up for a little while, do you miss it? Is it something that's sort of like a muscle that always needs to be
I
sort of
don't
worked?
miss it, but when I do go back to it, it's stressful because I haven't been doing it, and it is something that you need to keep doing to stay comfortable, at least for me. So I have to kind of like practice it before I go back on the road. But I don't miss the travel. It was a lot.
Now, I was going back and I was watching some of your stand-up material, and you had this bit that I loved where you were about to get into a fight with a woman, but you saw that she had an Obama Hope sticker on her car.
We're all a little racist bit.
Yeah, you decided not to because she had that sticker. But then you said if it was the Bush administration, you'd have been all over her. How are you doing right now?
Oh my God, keep hope alive. I was just saying that this debacle, this madness, this foolishness, we're about to step into the purge, has made me, I've seen signs about it and I feel the same way. It's like, thanks Trump, you made me an activist. Yeah. I feel, more empowered and more support to actually be vocal about, how I feel about things. Not that I wasn't before, but I'm definitely donating a lot more. It's like every week I'm like $25 here, $25 here, because I feel like they're just gonna they're gonna suck everything away from us, and it's not even from us. It's like for everyone. It's not just. I think there's a little bit of selfishness that happens, and which is how we ended up in this situation in the first place. And if we were all just a little more selfless, I think we would still be in a position where the world wasn't looking at us like, really? Because I feel like, as I said, I'm living in Canada right now, and Canadians are like, they're like, really? Because they're scared too. All this affects everyone.
The great thing,
trickle down, as they say.
The great thing about donating so much more, because I've been donating as well, is that you no longer have to really avoid people with clipboards on the street. Like someone approached me and I got to go like, I donated.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, thank you. And it's like, oh, I didn't have to avoid you like you were the plague, you poor volunteer.
Exactly. It's just been eye-opening at the very and a little more eye-opening for some people than others. Darker skinned people weren't as surprised at what their fellow man was thinking or what they had underlying, whereas middle class white people were like, holy shit,
Well, there's that great sketch on Saturday Night Live where Chappelle and Chris Rock are all sort of, they're more surprised at all the white people who are sitting there being like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in America. And like, what, really? And I found that personally as well as like a middle class white person when I bring it up. They're like, black people that I'm talking to are like, yeah. And I'm like, oh,
been there doing that.
You're right. I am so privileged. But with Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, getting back to the show, how did you get involved with the show?
So Marty Noxon, who created the show, she and her 9-year-old daughter used to watch Parks. That was their favorite show, and her daughter loved Donna Meagle. And when the show was coming to an end, Marty told her, she's like, this is the last season, and she was upset about it. She's like, well, if she can't do this show, can she do yours? And so Marty asked me to do the show.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Hook up.
Is that how it normally works?
It's not. I'm firing my team, and I'm just sticking with the 10-year-old.
Did the 10-year-old ever come to set? And it's just
she
like,
came once, and I brought her Nick Offerman. Usually when we would do our gifts for the crew, Nick always took the reins, and one year he made Parks and Rec playing cards. He got a bunch made to give out, and then I think we had some to sell for a charity, and I had a few of them left, and I gave her a pack.
I think you've commented on this or said how much it is, but how often do you hear Treat Yourself?
A lot. Pretty much every pretty much every day because I see it on Twitter and Instagram. I told this story before where when it first came out, when it was really like that season, the week after, when I would go out to lunch, I would tell my friends, if we search Treat Yourself on Twitter, if it's been more than 7 minutes that someone has tweeted it, I pay for lunch. If it's been 7 minutes or less, you pay for lunch, and I never paid for lunch. And now it's up to about 11 minutes. So if you were to search Treat Yourself right now, chances are, whether you do the hashtag or the typed out Treat Yourself, it would pop up with at least 11 minutes ago.
We're going to continue this conversation, but if anybody has their phone, I would like them to research that. I would like to actually know. You have your phone. I'm telling you, please do it.
He's checking.
So now that you have this show, are you looking for another catchphrase? That
I
you
am
can
not.
hear? No, you don't. That's what I mean. Is
Because
it a blessing or a curse?
It's a blessing in that I feel like I've remained relevant post Parks because of Netflix, because there are still people who are discovering the show. But
Also, I think you were, with that line or not, you were a great supporting character on that show.
oh well, thanks.
Yeah.
But I feel like the thing that makes me crazy is when people come up to me and they put a phone in my face and say, "Can you say Treat Yourself on my Snap?" I'm like, no. I got paid a lot of money to say Treat Yourself on camera.
That is the weird thing about fans. Like people you love your fans, and you don't mind taking a picture and stuff like that. But even fans and I think even media organizations sometimes when you go to do interviews want you to do
Every single one.
these things, and you're kind of like, no, I get paid to do these things. I don't have to come to you and be funny for you.
Exactly. So I don't need anything new. I enjoy Treat Yourself. I love that people enjoy it and people say that they have these weekends and shopping sprees with their friends, and so I do appreciate that we were able to do that for people. I just don't want to have to say it on your Snap.
Where did it come from? Was it something that you had come up with? Or is it the writers?
Alan Yang, who
Master of None.
yes,
Yeah.
created Master of None with Aziz. He wrote that episode, so that was all him. I mean, whether it came from the writers' room, as a group thing, but he wrote that episode, so I credit Alan.
Did it take a while for you to credit Alan, or did you know right away?
No.
Like, please give this to Alan.
I will
I'm just the actress.
No, I will say I didn't realize how big it was going to be, and I had a friend on set who was watching. She was at Video Village. She happened to visit the first time she ever visited set, and Aziz and I were doing the talking head, where I'm like, mimosas, treat yourself, massages, treat yourself, and after we shot it, and Alan had written a really long one. There was one that was super, super long. Like, I was like, I'm supposed to remember all this list of things. And then there was a short one, a really short, that just had like 3 options or something. And then the one that they actually aired. And so after we finished shooting them all, my friend came up to me and she was like, that's gonna be huge. And I was like, really? She's like, trust me, it's gonna be huge. And it was.
Wow. So someone knew right away that was going to be
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, this is just, and she watched the show, but she's like, it's gonna be big.
And you and Aziz never texted to each other ever.
No.
You both are trying to get away from it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So when you got to Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, you were like, please, no catchphrase. Do not write a catchphrase.
No, I
for me."
didn't. I didn't say that, but I'm hoping there isn't a catchphrase.
So when they told you that they were going to expand your part, did they give you any sense of what kind of storylines they were going to give your character?
No, not at first, but once the season was getting ready to start, you go in and you meet with the writers, and they give you an idea of how the season's going to go. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they tell you the beats that they want to hit, any major things that are going to happen. So I did know before we started. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in season 5 because we start shooting that when I get back. But I think but I have read the first episode of that one. But they'll probably tell me, where they think it's going to end, especially since the show is going to end after that.
Oh, it is going to end.
Yes.
Absolutely going to
Yes.
end. And Lisa she's directing an episode, right?
She is. I think she's directing the 3rd episode of the 5th season.
So you haven't worked with her as a director yet?
No, but she did write an episode. She wrote an episode in season 3. I think it was The episode that they just showed the clip from. I think she wrote that episode.
What's it like when an actor that you work with ends up stepping behind the camera for episodes? Because did that happen in Parks and Rec at all every now and then?
Amy directed, Nick directed, Adam directed. It's usually pretty great. It was particularly great with Amy and Adam and Nick because they know our show, they know our voices, they know our character voices, they know our strengths as comedians and that sort of thing. So they kind of they pull that out of you. And then, especially when they're funny people, if you're doing a comedy, when they're already funny people and they're on the show, it's so much easier just to keep adding jokes. So they're very good at giving us lines saying, try this, try that, try this, or when you do it this time, just give it a look or whatever. So because they're so close to the material and the characters, you get a lot more options.
When you do a show like Parks and Rec and you're improvising on set or the director's throwing new ideas at you, how often do you find that stuff actually makes it into the show? Because I worked on a show one time and they were improvising all the time, but they also had a script. And I remember when the show finally aired, being so surprised how little of the hilarious things that I saw them do on set made it, because they had to follow a very clear plot and go beat by beat.
Some of that is legal. It depends on whether legal lets it through. And then some of it is also because the writers know what the through line is, they may need a specific line to be in the episode because it pertains to something in the future or whatever. Sometimes, when you're riffing, you're trying to be funny, you'll go off what the history is. So you might do a joke about saying you loved Prince, like you make a joke about that, but there was an episode in the past that said you hated Prince, so you can't use the joke because you forgot. It was just something silly you made up. So a lot of times you have to go off the history, and sometimes it's either too dirty, which is what it was on Parks a lot.
Did you ever get, what was something that legal said no to a joke you made?
Oh, I'm not filthy.
Oh, you're not
I'm
filthy.
so clean. I don't think anything that Nick or Chris Pratt, well, Chris Pratt got a lot of stuff out, but Nick and Chris Pratt they're all pretty filthy. God bless them. I love them. I used to be, when I first started doing the show, I'd be like, Nick, I was so embarrassed the first day I did a conference room scene with Nick. I did not know, and then Nick is so serious too, that he'll say something and I'll be like, and then they'll say cut, and he'll just have that look on his face, and then he'll bust out laughing. Adam's good for that too. Adam always would get me, just even like kidding around, would say something, and I'd be like, "Are you serious? I remember him telling me, oh God, I can't remember. I remember being in the makeup trailer, and Adam tells me this story, this whole story, and I was like, shut your freaking mouth. And he literally looked at me and goes, Retta, why do you believe everything I say? Because I totally do. They're really good at what they do.
You were never combating legal for your jokes. You were always
I was
clean.
not. I was not. I was always scared that something crazy would get out. Even though it wouldn't get on air, that it would get out and people would be like, you're a heinous human being.
Let's open up to the audience for questions. Who has questions out here? Right here.
Hi, thanks
Hi.
for being here.
Why, thanks.
I've heard you talk before about like a group text that the Parks and Rec cast has. I wondered, is that still going on?
Oh, yeah.
Who has
Every
the,
day.
Who has the best GIFs?
They're all pretty good right now. It's mostly just love. Right now, it's a lot of praise for Aubrey's film in her films that are in Sundance right now, and Aziz's hosting. So it's a lot of
killed it, right?
Yes, a lot of retelling of his jokes that he did in the opening. Yeah,
He was amazing.
he was good. I enjoyed it.
Next question.
Hey, Retta. So,
Do you have the info for us?
it was around 6 minutes when you had asked me.
Wow.
Boom!
Wow.
Still hot.
I owe Retta lunch.
Exactly.
So I know you started off as a stand-up. Like, I was wondering how that was like for you, and do you still do that, or is that something like you
I
ever
do
want
it.
to go back to?
I do the colleges every once in a while, but it's a little hard because I live in Vancouver now for this show. And when I started doing the open mics in North Carolina. I went to college in North Carolina, and I stayed there for a little bit before I moved to LA. And so I just started doing open mics, and then, got ballsy and drove cross country and started doing it in LA.
What got you to do it? Were you a fan of other particular stand-ups, or did you just know? Of
I
open
was,
mic?
but I did it because I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted a sitcom, and I saw that so many sitcoms were led by stand-ups, so I thought that was a route they took. It worked, so I'll try it.
You said you shot a pilot. Was the pilot that you shot for you as the lead of a sitcom, or you developed?
It was Casey Wilson. I didn't develop it. It was a Swedish show that was being adapted, and Casey was the lead, and I was the second lead.
I think you deserve your own lead
Oh, well, thanks.
to be a lead in the show. I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hey, Retta.
Hi.
Over here. So, having your character on Girlfriend's Guide, do you find any similarities between her and the character you played in Parks and Rec?
No, not at first, because Donna was very self-assured. She's very confident. And I think when I came into Girlfriend's Guide, Barbara was a little bit broken and a little kind of doubtful of herself and needed kind of rebuilding. And I think the girls gave her the confidence to now have confidence. So I will say she progressed and moved towards the Donna Meagle part of the spectrum, but did not start there.
Does Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce sort of force you to think about like acting a little bit more rather than sort of performing as a stand-up? Because with Parks, as much acting as there's, a lot of it is knowing how to deliver one-liners and deliver jokes
Right.
with good timing.
Yes, I definitely get to do more. I have used more of my range on Girlfriends, and it's nice. It feels good. It feels like I'm doing the work, and I hope I get to do it more.
Absolutely, we'd love to see that. Retta, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Thank you so much, Retta. Let's hear it, guys.
Thanks for coming.